Hi everyone, welcome to day 3 of Nature Time. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about what it means to leave what you find, which is our 4th principle of leave no trace. And so what do we mean by leave what you find? It means when I find things like sticks and leaves, I'm not going to move them all somewhere else. When I'm walking by some bushes, I'm not going to pull the living parts of those trees off, right? I'm not going to move logs around that don't need to be moved, especially when we're in places like state parks or here at Mount Luther. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to preserve those things and make sure that they stay natural. Because that's really important to the natural cycles that happen on Earth. So when I see things laying around, I'm not going to just pick them up and chuck them somewhere else, because that's not worth my time, right? There's no reason to be picking grass out of the ground or picking leaves off the trees, because they're meant to be there. They're part of a living ecosystem that works together to improve things and has a symbiotic relationship with one another. You know what the word symbiotic means? It means they help each other, right? Did you know that trees, their roots, help to anchor themselves into the ground by intertwining with each other and staying together? That's why you can sometimes see trees hanging off the sides of cliffs, and they're still able to do it because their roots, their systems go deep, and they help to cling on to one another. So we want to make sure we're not pulling leaves off trees, doing those kinds of things. We want to leave what we find. You see a pretty flower by the side of the road? Enjoy the pretty flower for the moment. Maybe take a picture of it. Pictures are great. We love pictures. But don't try and take it with you. You find a cute little frog by a pond? Don't put it in a cage and take it somewhere else. You want to leave it there because that's its home, right? So we want to leave things where we find them. It's really important. But with that, I'll turn it over to Noah for a nature fact. Hello, and welcome to Nature Facts. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about butterflies. Now, first, you know what the difference is between moths and butterflies? Well, moths tend to come out at night, whereas butterflies tend to come out during the day. And this is kind of reflected in their camouflage. Right? Moths tend to be more dark colors, whereas butterflies tend to be more bright colors. Right? They also do some different things. We're primarily going to talk today about butterflies. Butterflies, as you may or may not know, and moths go through something called metamorphosis, where they transform from egg into caterpillar, and they eat a lot of food, and then they go into a chrysalis or cocoon, and they come out of that after a period of time and they become butterflies or moths. And then once they're in that form, they fly around and they go from flower to flower. They're pollinators. But there's something that's particularly interesting about monarch butterflies. Monarch butterflies are migratory butterflies. They actually travel all the way to Mexico to lay their eggs before they make their return journey back to areas like Pennsylvania. And so, how can we relate some of this to how God works? Well, first of all, I think it's interesting to look at metamorphosis. Frogs do it, butterflies do it, moths do it. Metamorphosis is something that is all about changing, right? And so in our baptisms, we almost undergo a process of metamorphosis. We go from being who we are to being washed through the waters of holy baptism, and then we become butterflies and part of God's kingdom. And that's a really, really cool and special thing. And God calls all of us to be His children, which is also metamorphosis, because that is a big change for us. And it's really cool. We also go on a journey through our lives, and we learn about God and read Bible stories, just like the monarch butterflies do. So next time you see a monarch butterfly, think a little bit about what that means for you. Thanks for joining me.
Shh. Hey, can you hear that? Can you hear the water? I can hear it. It might be hard for you to hear on the video, but I can just hear the water slowly trickling in the creek. You can see it probably moving as I look at it here. So today's story, we learned about David and how he was anointed king and anointed with oil. So this water reminds me of our baptism and how God chooses us through the waters of holy baptism, like Samuel was told by God to choose David to be the next king of Israel. Now David is also the author of Psalm 23. And in Psalm 23 he says, you lead me beside still waters. Right? So we can think about these still and slightly bubbling waters when we think about David and our baptisms. Pretty cool, isn't it? So what I want to encourage you to do today is when you have some time, go outside and lay in the grass or go to the local creek or park and go with your parents and sit outside, or maybe just sit outside in your backyard and just listen to the sounds around you. Can you hear the birds chirping? Can you hear any water running? Oh, look, little dragonfly. That's actually a damselfly. Oh, there he goes. He's flying away. Oh, he's flying away. There he goes. Can you see things like damselflies? Watch them fly around. Listen to the birds. It's a really cool activity to do, just to experience all that God has made. Think about what you heard, what you saw. Maybe write it down. Keep a little nature journal about your outdoor experiences. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you again tomorrow.